I suppose my interest in found photographs came about because of an accident, and about 10 or 12 years ago we were moving house, and I had a chest, an old tea chest, that was filled with objects and diaries and photographic albums from my childhood in Sri Lanka. So it went back several generations, and they were all in this chest, and we went away for the weekend, and we had somebody we had some builders in, and they were clearing up some work that we'd done. And I said to the guy before we left, I said, can you leave that chest there but clear up your rubbish, and we'll be back on Monday. Well, when we came back on Monday, they'd cleared up all their rubbish and they'd thrown away my chest as well, and it was literally everything, apart from a little envelope of images that had got left somewhere else in another place altogether. I had lost everything, all my family photographs, documentation of my life. I felt orphaned, really. So when I lost this, for about a year I went around grieving over them, not consciously so, but unconsciously. Whenever I saw photographs in junk shops or in flea markets, I'd look for the images that I'd lost. And somewhere, at some point, and I don't know when it happened, I decided to buy them as a sort of, to try and fulfill this hunger. And of course I never fulfilled it until I started to write. And then a curious thing happened. I actually wrote Bone China first, and then put it aside, and then wrote Mosquito. But the two books have quite a strong connection, and then I wrote Brixton Beat. And by the time I'd finished the 3 books, which was about migration and displacement and integration, although they are very separate stories, by the time I'd written the 3rd book, I'd come to terms with this loss. And my own children asking me, but you know, we have no photographs of our grandparents. And I'd come to terms with that because I'd written it into the book. And it was that point, just before I started writing The Swimmer, that I started looking at the found photographs in a more objective way. So in here is, I keep some of my albums, but some of the things I've got, for example, this one here, which I bought last year in Italy. I kept the album because it's obviously a wealthy family. I was looking through a whole group in a bric-a-brac stall, and I saw this album, so I picked it up. I couldn't believe it. Tried not to look too excited, and thought, oh, it's probably going to be beyond anything I can afford. He obviously didn't think much of it, but I mean, look at it. Isn't that extraordinary? It's a whole family history. And I just think they're amazing. I mean, just take one image, that one there. I love that one. Now this is obviously some wartime rally. I know that one day I will write an Italian story where these photographs will come in. I spend a lot of time in Italy, so these photographs will come in useful for whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to be. Somehow or other, the photographic work that I do feeds into my writing. I tried at the beginning, when I first started out writing, to keep the two things separate, because I felt, you know, they had different job descriptions, artists, novelists. Thought, well, I'll go to Suffolk and take my camera and just see what happens. And then I took these photos as well, which I have actually used and used again, and I'm reusing in my new book as well. And this is of Orford Ness, which is an extraordinary place, really. I mean, it looks like, oh, it could be Afghanistan. And it's where they did a lot of testing. It's where radar was developed. There was a lot of secret stuff going on there. And again, these are the marshes, you see. And that sort of made me think, yes, I want to have my house somewhere along here so that it looks out onto the marshes and also the sea. And there was this little thread of a river running through it. So these, I mean, I didn't obviously use all these images for the swimmer because it was not necessary, but I have come back to them again and again, and I'm using them again now. I just pin them up and I look at them while I'm writing. I kind of, I don't know, I stare at them. You know, I remember walking then. I remember incidents looking at them. I tend to, I mean, I'm in between at the moment, which is why there's not much stuff up. But they're just visual aids, really. If I was painting, if I still had my painting studio, I would have lots of visual images up on the wall while I was working, and I suppose I write in a similar way. I mean, for example, I have, you know, I have endless notebooks with plot ideas and things, and I have, I mean, this was an image, I can't remember where I found this. It was in a newspaper somewhere, and I based the character of Eric in the novel from this Eric the eel catcher, who represents all that is dying tradition in the countryside of Suffolk and Norfolk. And he has eel traps, and he sets them along the riverbank, and he goes out in his old boat, and he's got this little battery powered light, and he goes out at night and he puts his willow traps out. And I got all those ideas from just looking at found photographs. So, now this is interesting. How about this? This is a photograph I bought at a fair. This is the harbour in Colombo as it must have looked when I left. You know, this is one of my replacement photos. And here is another one, further down the coast. After I'd written the third book, I just, you know, it suddenly became less about surrounding myself with the physical object and more about accessing my own memory. When I reached that point, the photograph as an object of personal interest became less important to me. It is during the 6 weeks when I leave that first draft aside, and I'm still looking at all my visual images, that the characters take over. And by the time I go to the second draft, I'm more or less rewriting it because my characters are telling me, no, I'm not doing that, I'm doing this. And then they lead. And at that point it gets a lot easier. So by the time I got to my second draft, I'd been staring at all these photographs, I'd been listening to all this music. I hadn't actually written a word for 6 weeks, hadn't even looked at the manuscript. And then, because I have so many boxes of found photographs, I was rummaging through them looking for something completely different. I can't remember what. And I found a little envelope with Suffolk marked on it. And inside were these set of photos that I'd found 10 years ago, perhaps less, and that I'd filed away meaning to use. And there is a bit of a story with that. Well, let's start. I mean, I've got 2 boxes of these somewhere, but if I can just show you that one. On the back it says Jeanette and John, 22nd September 1931. And the story behind this is very curious. I found a bunch of these here in the market, and they have this on the back of it, the writing. And it's obviously somebody quite elderly. I didn't know where it was taken. I asked the woman where she'd got it. She said, oh, I did a house clearance. And in the group of photos, you could see the children and as they got older. And then that year, now I can't remember the year I found it, I was in another market in London, and I bought a photographic album from a stall holder in Covent Garden. And when I got home, I mean, I just bought it because it wasn't very expensive. When I got home, I started looking at it, and I do what I always do, I take them out of the album, so I'm not interested in the album. And I found that the photographs in that album were from the same family, and some of them had handwriting on the back. So I started to research it, and as far as I can see, the family has died out. And how interesting that I could see the development from them being little children right up to the Second World War and after, when they're elderly. And the dogs that they're in the pictures, the dogs change, then there are new dogs. The house, Almond House, remains. And there is no narrative other than the names, and on some of the photos, not all of them, and dates. And one of the photos is of one of the children, one of these children, Jeanette and John, I think it's Jeanette, and she's standing on a beach, unidentified beach, and a shadow of a man is across her. And that's when I got a part of the story, and I thought, yes, her father dies, and she's not told about his death, and his shadow stays on her all the time. And that's when I started to use them. What is very interesting about these photos is that they seem to have a life of their own, because, you know, I used bits of them. The character here, John, became Jack in the novel, but I'm reusing them now in this new novel I'm writing, and they become different people. So they have multiple lives, really.